Hello, everybody. This is going to be a quick video where we talk about some of the responses you guys to our verse stream scenario. If you haven't watched the video, please do so now. Hopefully you enjoyed it. All right, so let's talk about this. First, just a solution that a lot of people came up with was just to push everything on the stream onto a stack and pop it when you go out. So um, a fair number of people pointed out that, hey, wait a minute, like how am I supposed to reverse infinity? Aren't these streams supposed to be this infinite or possibly infinite data structure? If so, that's sort of impossible. And we'll assume that this person was like, well, I'm just going to make it work if it's a finite stream, or the people who did that. Sort of more, like one of the examples that was given, I liked it was multiple times, was if somebody said, please reverse the digits of pi stream, which would give you that, you would need to know the last digit of pi, which doesn't make any sense. Someone pointed out that this is not a responsible or reasonable ask on the part of my manager. I would go so far as to say that to ask to reverse the digit of pi is not only unreasonable, but it is irrational. And I hope at least a few of you enjoyed that joke. Okay, so also what was pointed out was that, even if you could determine a pattern, like imagine something that's 0, 1, 0, 1, 0, 1, that's even not well defined because who's to say which one comes first, the 0 or 1 in reversing it? So even for a number of them where you could sort of figure it out, that would be sort of ill-defined. Another bonus thing which I had not thought about is, like for the infinite streams, there's no such thing as the last item. And another problem is even if it was a finite stream, if your stream has side effects as it's going, to reverse it would be difficult to pull off, if not impossible. So there's that situation. A number of people, including one of the people who gave like why it's not good, is like after you've clarified that, like, by the way, this won't work for an infinite stream, build a way, and a lot of people did the stack, that it's only going to work on finite streams. I would actually even call the method finite stream reverse or stream finite reverse or something like that, just to make it very clear. You could also do it in the documentation, which a fair number of people do. Another suggestion, which I liked, was just to call, make a function called reverse and stream end steps, where you're like, all right, just tell me how many you want, and I'll reverse that. And you could do it up to that point, and if it was less than that, maybe you would stop early, but that would be your end break point. I like this one. It was not what I was thinking at all. There was, by the way, I really appreciated all the great ideas that came in on this. It's made shooting this much more fun. To build stream rewind, which is not really stream reverse, but if you were going through a stream, you could push as you went. So at any moment, someone could say, go in reverse from how I got here, which is not the same thing, but certainly perfectly valid, because if you've gotten to a point, you should be able to go back. So I like that. I like this one. Try to come up with an argument for why the reverse of a stream is the same as a stream. And like my manager would probably buy it if I used words, long enough words. What I would suggest if you're ever going to go with this strategy, which is a good one, is make sure to use words that, I would say it's probably best to use words that your manager has probably heard of but doesn't understand. Something like covariant versus contravariant comes to mind in this class. Just as something like you don't use words that mean nothing to this person. Use words that mean that they like, oh, that's something I've heard of and should know, but I'm not going to admit to it now. As a little bonus advice, I'm not sure. I'm sure any just big words would probably also work on that chucklehead from that video. So another nice response is just raise an error, which is not bad. Just make the function and then say, I obviously can't do this if it's infinite, or can be infinite. There you go. Another really nice answer is I would just use Racket's built-in stream reverse. Racket, of course, has a streams library. Perhaps it was built by our hero in that video. And it has a reverse function. And so let's go ahead and, like, I was not planning on doing this when I started. When I proposed this this video, I thought people would just say, like, you can't do it, it's infinite. But there were so many good answers. I've really improved. I was like, all right, well, let's learn about how to do the streams library in Racket. So I'm going to define a function. I'm going to do the powers of 2 stream. So let's just do that. So imagine I'm going to write a function called times 2. Just when in Rome, just start programming like Racket people would do it. So why not, if I can make the function start with times, like, and then have a number as the next one, like, let's just do it. So that's a function that I'm going to use in this, and I'm going to define powers of 2. This is not a function, this is just a value, and that's going to be stream cons, which I can, again, look up by just clicking over here, and you can bring up the documentation about this. So I don't know what that was, but they're all here. There's like stream question mark, empty, first, rest, cons. You can find out all about these things. And so we're going to cons 1. So it takes the first expression and then what you want the next one to be. And I'm going to use stream map and use my times 2 function and powers of 2. Okay. And so I've tested this before. That is in fact a valid definition of the powers of 2 stream. Let's check that it is in fact powers of 2. And let me call it powers of 2 like this, make it a little easier on myself. And stream powers of 2. And if I do that, let me run this. That's going to print true, so that's good. If I were to ask the question, stream, first of all, let's do stream first. Let's just see that it's correct. So stream first of powers of 2. So it is a stream. The first one is 1. That's good. The all important, like, does the second one work? Stream rest powers of 2. Run that. Oh, what did I do? I fired up a new thing. Control R for run. And that's looking good. Let's do one more. We're feeling good. And so we'll do this one more time. I'll do stream rest one more time. Hopefully this says 4. I have great confidence that it will. Outstanding. And so now let's ask, what's the length of this stream? And if I say powers, and by the way, in the previous video, I showed you can do this completion situation. Oh, it's going to take a while because it's probably the first time I've done it. And that works apparently on the library, but not on the actual. So that's going to give me the powers of 2 function in the library. It doesn't seem to work on the local functions. That's why it wasn't working in my previous video. So it works for sort of the library functions, the content assist in Dr. Racket. So if I do stream length of powers of 2, that just infinitely loops. So you'll notice it's still running, like this thing is going to whatever. I think it'll actually run out of memory and crash. So that's their plan on this. If I look up the documentation on this, it basically says, if the stream is infinite, it does not terminate. So it actually just runs out of memory and crashes. So I assume it's just keeps going down the list. So that's its plan. That's the official Racket thing, is basically infinitely loop until it crashes. And so the same thing sort of will happen when we try to call a list. There's a stream list function that would do the exact same thing. I'll let you imagine that crashing. Stream reverse does the exact same thing. To get to what someone said, which was sort of stream end steps, right, is that I can define, I'm going to define something that is first 10 powers of 2. And that's going to be this function stream take powers of 2. Let's say 10. And now if I try to take, let's see if that's going to, let me run that. That's going to be some stream. And I can say stream list. I think it's actually like this list. Stream to list of the first 10 powers of 2. And if I do that, you actually see it converts it into this list, which is nice. And stream length works and everything like that. I can then reverse that stream, right, if I wanted to. So, okay, so let's build a quick thing to reverse this stream. First of all, the function that the commenter or the responder gave is actually not part of the default streams. It's part of this PFDS stream, which is a little bit of a pain. It doesn't work well with the streams directly. It's you have to install something and it doesn't quite work. So let's just build a quick reverse stream. It will not be the most sophisticated of all reverse streams, but it should get the job done. So reverse stream S, if I write that function, you can build a stream out of a list. So let's just reverse stream to list of S, bam, 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 bam. And then I can build some new function reverse, or some new value that is the reversed. Yeah, reversed first 10 powers of 2 will be calling reverse stream of the first, oh shoot, the first 10 powers of 2. And if I then want to, if I could do stream to list of that guy, it should print them out in reverse order. So there we go. So that would be one way to build with a sort of a standard Racket library how to build reverse stream, and you would, by definition, sort of give it the number. Let's go back real quickly to our slides here. And so like this sort of answers the question of like how, like how should one reverse infinity? Racket's official answer is just to infinitely loop until it crashes. And that's their standard thing for all the things that would not work on an infinite situation. The last example that I have here, which I also kind of liked, there was a lot of things I didn't quite understand. It's like, first they were like, well, if you're asking me to reverse the stream, that doesn't make any sense because it's infinite. And this is a bonus one, is like, if what you're asking me to do is give me the stream of the ones that come before when you started streaming, which I hope all of you have watched Ghostbusters. This kind of got me to like, I'm gonna write this function called stream cross that like goes in reverse. Which is just crazy enough that I thought maybe we should build it for this example. So what would this mean for the powers of 2? I think this would mean to create the negative powers of 2. So let's write this stream. So I'm going to define negative powers of 2 and that's going to be I'm going to use the stream map again. I'm going to write a quick function here. Let me scroll down a little. I'm going to write a function reciprocal. And that's going to take some value and return divide 1 over the value. That's going to be reciprocal. That's what I'm going to map. And like rather quickly, I could do this where I called powers of 2 here somehow. Just swipe this, so we're typing everything all the time. This is not quite right, where that would be my stream. If everyone wants to just quickly pause the video and figure out why this is wrong, then we'll take a moment. Okay, there's a couple of things wrong with this. First, the thing I wasn't really going for is I didn't, I called def instead of define there. If I call stream first of this negative powers of 2, because I just reversed, or because I just took the reciprocal, the first one is going to be 1, and that's not what I want. I want the first negative power of 2, or the thing that would precede the crossing of the streams, or I don't know exactly how to describe it, is the one before this. So I'm going to have to do, I'm going to have to pop or pull the first one off before I start. And now if I run that guy, that looks good. What I can do here is just to print them out, I can stream take the first 10, let's say, just to sort of see it. One last thing. Then negative powers of 2. And let's run that. And that should, oh, it gives me a stream. So let me convert that to stream. Our final thing, stream to list of that guy. And with that, I really like this last example where you imagine we're going to try to reverse time instead and go back and figure out. I want you to imagine like trying to write a function to figure this out where like you take the stream powers of 2, you're able to figure out that not only should I like take the reciprocal and reverse it, I also have to do this thing where I can sort of lop off the first one because I got to skip that. And even with all that, right, trying to figure out how to do that automatically, it still seems more possible, or it seems more reasonable to have to try to do that than to try to figure out what the last power of 2 is and start from there and go back. So with that, that's all I have for your great responses on reversing our reversing stream scenario. I thank you all for your great and thoughtful like just responses. It was a lot of fun, and I hope you're all well.